How many companies get along? What was their fate? And what are you going to do different this year? What did you learn, in the process?
So it was our first year in London.
Because New York, it's been going for 5 or 6 years?
No, New York is now just finished its third year.
Third, okay.
Yeah. So New York was finishing its second year as we were starting our first. Okay. And we had 62 applications.
Wow.
And of those, we shortlisted 14. Then we were aiming to choose 6, but we squeezed in a 7th. We all agreed that, okay, we can get another one in here. And the companies, some are quite well known now, I guess, within London, but Digital Shadows was one.
Okay.
And Growth Intelligence. BehavioSec, which was doing behavioral security. Then there was a company called Call Trunk, which is now called Open Voice. They sort of pivoted and decided they were going to be focused on something slightly different at the end of the program. The Open Bank Project and Kibu was another one, which is a personal finance management tool. And I'm going to embarrass myself by forgetting one of them. Have I given 6 or 7? I'm sure there's one of them. Digital Shadows, Growth Intelligence, Open Bank, BehavioSec. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did any of those end up, raising money? Did they work with the banks? Did they, obviously, if you still remember their names, they're still around. So.
Oh, yeah. I'm in touch with all of them. And, we're still, most of them, if not all of them, are still having discussions with the banks.
Okay.
And are, I forgot, Waratech is the 7th. Okay. Waratech was a really, really interesting company, and they've done really, really well out of this. And they're actually not just applicable to financial services. So they do virtualization of Java, and which I'm already getting technically out of my depth there, but what it does is enables you to virtualize Java implementations much more than just beyond the hardware level. So you're going into the software level, software virtualization.
So is there anything you're going to do differently this year after last year, or is it kind of the same model? You must be climbing a big learning curve doing something like this.
Yeah, we learned a lot of stuff, and there's a couple of things that we're doing differently. So first is, during our first year, during the program, each bank had an event. So each bank, every week, we'd have 1 or 2 events with the banks, and one bank would basically open its doors, invite all the startups to their bank.
It sounds like a fraternity rush, by the way.
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to be the big brother, and they want to show how cool their house is.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. And they would then put on a few drinks or nibbles, and they would give a presentation on their bank or a theme. We asked them all to give a presentation on a theme. So some of them did like procurement, some did security, some did like the growth of technology and banking, But really the aim was for us to get a few more people within the bank socializing with the startups, but also for the startups to kind of get a bit of insight into the different cultures of the banks. And it's quite eye-opening when you go to 12 different banks, which come from, 2 different continents, and they've all got different cultures, and they're all very different types of banks. So that worked pretty well. But what we learned from that was actually one of the things that worked really well was speed dating. And what we're doing this year is in the first 2 weeks of the program, each bank, it's going to be intense, but each bank will do half a day of speed dating on their own premises. So all the companies turn up and they get speed dating with a series of different executives. So banks, you have the IT guys, you might have people from different parts of the IT division, because IT divisions are massive companies in themselves. Then we'll have senior executives from different parts of the business, so the business side. So that might be the retail banking or mobile banking, or might be the different trading desks, etc. Or wealth management, etc. And that gives those senior executives an opportunity to very quickly meet these startups. And if it sparks off any initial ideas of, yeah, that's great, that we should talk more. It's lead generating. And the chaperones, who I mentioned earlier, who are kind of from each of the banks and helping this, that gives the chaperone and each of the startups a few leads at the start of the program to go, okay, let's follow up these guys, or we thought you'd be a real hit, but you just spoke to the most senior guy in that division, and he doesn't get it. So we need to find another way to get to him, or we need to actually think about, there was that other guy who really liked what you're doing and thought, you could apply it to their part of the business.
In this whole process, I'm just curious how much.
Of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you want to retain as much as possible, and you want the highest price because it makes you feel good. But if you take money from an angel or crowdsourcing platform, or for us at the wrong price, and you don't get to the next milestone and haven't created value, and you need to raise more money, going back to my Gutenberg story, then